Your Honor, my name is Karen McDonald and I represent the people of the state of Michigan. The hearing today is the most important legal proceeding in the lives of nearly everyone in this courtroom. It is incredibly important for the defendant. His life is at stake. But everyone else is here in this courtroom today because this defendant made the decision to kill 4 other people and to take their lives instead of his own. Injured several others and terrorized hundreds. So the hearing today is just as important to these victims as it is to the defendant. And it is important to this entire community. Almost all of us have come to believe that a juvenile sentenced to life without parole should be exceedingly rare. And I believe that. I embrace that. I want to be clear that we acknowledge that we bear the burden of proof and we have a heightened standard when we ask for a juvenile to be sentenced to life without parole. As this court knows, you must consider the mitigating factors set out in Miller versus Alabama, and we also embrace that. There has been a misconception that charging this defendant as an adult and charging his parents is somehow inconsistent. That is not true. They are charged for doing 2 different things. This defendant has already pled guilty to killing the 4 victims who died, shooting 7 other victims with the intent to kill them and terrorizing everyone else who was at Oxford High School that day. He's the only one who pulled the trigger. The parents are charged with involuntary manslaughter for their gross negligence in buying the obviously troubled son a gun, for not securing it safely, and then for not doing anything about it when they saw the defendant's drawings on the day of the shooting. They are not charged for being bad parents, and no one is saying they pulled the trigger. What we're saying is they had an obligation to the students who died, and their gross negligence resulted in those students' deaths. Neither one of them gets a pass because of the acts of the other. The defendant does not get a pass because his parents were grossly negligent. He is the one who researched and planned and carried out the shooting. And they don't get a pass because they gave their son a gun that he used, knowing he was a danger to use it. Each of them is only being held accountable for their own actions. It's important to be candid about what we do and do not know about this defendant. No one can tell us what he will be like in 40 years. None of us have a crystal ball, and we are not going to present any witnesses who will say there is 0 chance of possible rehabilitation. No one can say that for sure. But this hearing is not just about the defendant's potential to be rehabilitated. It starts and ends with proportionality. The court has to consider the Miller factors, but also every facet of the offender and the offense, and that's what we will present to you in this hearing. This is an offense unlike any other in this country or state has ever seen. Not just the number of children who died, but the way the defendant killed them, the amount of research and planning and preparation that went into it, and the way he carried it out, the picking and choosing of who would die. The video of the shooting doesn't have audio, but you will have no trouble interpreting the defendant's demeanor as he kills people and kids in that school. The way he walks up to them and fires at point blank range, the way he takes a shooter's stance in the middle of a hallway to kill Tate Meir. And this is an offender like no other. The video of the defendant torturing a 1-day-old baby bird shows that he is capable of a level of violence that most humans are not. And he takes joy in it. And he recorded it. The way he researched and planned the shooting, the way he thought through the weapon he wanted and how he got it, the way he researched and knew that Michigan does not have a death penalty, and that he stated over and over, I know I'll spend the rest of my life in prison. And one of the most extraordinary things that makes this defendant different than any other mass shooter in this country, as far as we know and can tell, is that he decided in advance that he was not going to kill himself. and he researched response times to make sure that he surrendered before the police arrived. And he did not because he wanted to witness. He stayed alive because he wanted to witness the suffering he created. When the United States Supreme Court and the Michigan Supreme Court talk about the rare case and the defendant, this is the one, Your Honor. Finally, we seek to present this evidence to the court in the most respectful way we can to the hundreds of victims in this case, the parents who lost their children that day, and those that are here with scars and bullet holes in their bodies. Your Honor, there is only one way to do that. It is painful and gut-wrenching, but the way to honor victims is the very same thing, Your Honor, that is essential to this court making its decision on whether or not this sentence of life without parole is proportional. Your Honor, this is it. We must tell the truth. Our witnesses must tell the truth, and they must tell all of it. We must have the courage and strength to listen and view the facts despite how horrifying it may seem. That is what we are called upon to do, and it is the only way to do so with the utmost respect that these victims deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.